Good afternoon, YouTube. I'm Fidel Snoka II, and today I'll be talking to you about the 5 steps of problem behavior and how to get over them and change your attitude for life. First off, the first step, and let's talk about this in context of how they form relationships and how relationships are always either good, bad, they're suffering, they're maximizing, they're thriving. But let's talk about it in a way of, are you living the life that you truly desire to live at every moment in time, point in space? And what that means is, are you doing what makes you happy at every moment in time and point in space? Yeah, it's a serious question you should probably ask yourself. If you're not living every day like it's your last day, loving every day like it's your last day, then you're wasting your days. So here's how I'll describe this, and I'll break these down over time. So, because each step is actually a pretty powerful step. So it's gonna probably run maybe about a series of 7, because you'll see 5 steps here. There's an additional 7 or 2 steps that I added to maximize it as 7 steps. The way I came up with these was because of Adlerian psychology. Alfred Adler was a mentee of Sigmund Freud, and Freud and Adler, and then you had Carl Jung. People are talking about these shadows and principles and things like that. And in this day and age, it's like really powerful stuff right now. Even though these philosophers were a long time ago. They did these things over a century ago, but now the information is just catching up to us right now. So those 3, Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, Alfred Adler, you can say were like a trio of 3 philosophers who had different takes on human psychology. Sigmund Freud was more of a person that said cause and effect, and he was more of a person that said these things happen, which is the result. So my present day is a result of what happened to me in my past. Now, Carl Jung was kind of a combination between both of these guys, but Adler was the guy that said your goals are the product of what you are right now at this moment in time. He didn't believe in my past defines my present. Your past can affect your present, but it does not define your present. Your goals are what define it. So he described this as mistaken goals, and he calls them life lies. So most people right now, you see psychologists, they kind of go to the side of Sigmund Freud, and then they say, okay, well, this is the cause, this is the effect. So they want you to go into a therapy session, and they want you to just talk about your past or whatever it was, and recall those things and all these things. But what Adler's saying is, it's not about that. It's about what was your goal whenever the event that you said is a traumatic experience happened. Because in Adlerian psychology, he doesn't believe in trauma, nor do we at the Alkalign Lifestyle. Because what I've learned over time is people assign different definitions to events in their life. And that's what is the deciding factor in how they feel, how those events make them feel. So they live their life like that. They live their life forever thinking that they're victimized because of the event that they attached to, and they kept that lie inside their body solely based on one principle, which is they can't move forward in life unless this thing goes somewhere, which they can't. So it's like having a blockage of energy, and you can't get rid of the blockage until you get rid of the association between the event and how you label the event. So you'll see people who suffer from sexual assault, people who suffer from, scams or manipulation. They don't realize what is the part that they play in how they are perceiving these things. You see, so first, problem behavior. And this is where it gets down to simplicity. In Adlerian psychology and the Alkalign Lifestyle, we believe that all problems are interpersonal relationship problems. That means that if there was nobody else on this planet with you at this moment in time, you would have no problem. You would literally just be living life, everything would be great, and you would not have any issues because you wouldn't have any problems with anybody else on the outside in order for you to deal with. And that's why every problem is an interpersonal relationship problem. What that means is when you become entangled with someone else, when you become meshed with someone else, combined with somebody else, what happens is you don't understand how two becomes one. And so if you go into a room full of people, how all these energies around you have an effect on you with constructive interference or destructive interference, which is basically good vibes from people or bad vibes from people. And if you don't understand that the person seeing the energy, which is you, if it does not change, you can't see anything from the outside as constructive because you aren't constructive on the inside. So it's based upon perception. This is what Dr. Bruce Lipton talked about where he talks about biology of belief. Your perceptions create your reality. Your beliefs create your reality. So first off, let's talk, go right to the board. We're going to talk about the first step of problem behavior. And this is the biggest one. Obviously, it's the first step, but it's the biggest one because of a reason, because you think of, everyone's going through this. And it doesn't matter if you are young, old, it doesn't matter what you are. You've gone through this first step. This step is simply attention seeking. Attention seeking. What does that mean? That means that the first step of problem behavior is there's a cause, there's an effect, and there's a goal, and there's an effect from this goal. All right? What is the cause? The cause is an adult that feels that they can't gain value or belonging just by being themselves. This is the worst. I say this is the worst. This is by far the worst. This is by far the main problem in every culture, every family, every community, everywhere. It's the worst problem. Because what happens is an adult feels that, and child, it's not just an adult, but we're talking about in terms of adults right now. But children grow up to be adults who are like this. So first of all, you would say it begins as children. A child that feels they can't gain value or belonging by believing themselves, which are by being themselves, which then grows up into an adult that feels that they can't gain value or belonging by being themselves. So what does this create? Dependency. This literally creates a form of dependency. A person becomes a manipulative person, a demanding praise person. You need to see me. You need to tell me how great I am. You need to validate what I'm doing. And it comes to where you're seeking approval, respect, or attention, which then what happens now is it makes everyone else around you tired. Everyone else around you just becomes exhausted because you don't have genuine connection. It's all based on transaction. So all you're doing is you're exchanging this for praise. It's just like having a puppy or just like having, a pet. And you think that by constant praise, that's the only way that you're going to get a person to say under your control, meaning under your control based upon your attention. So this is what the goal actually is. The goal, because here's how we define this. You had a goal prior. This wasn't some accidental cause and effect, because every cause has an effect. Every effect has a cause. But that cause is your thought process, your perception, how you feel things. So the goal that you actually have is if I can't belong by contribution, by what I'm giving, I'm going to belong by being noticed. Now, this does not matter if you think it's morally right, morally wrong. Criminals do this. Okay, people who, rob, steal, kill, they are attempting to be noticed. And because they are not being seen, because they're not grounded in themselves, they are going everywhere on the outside to find someone or something that they can gain value from, because themselves is not good enough. Being their normal self is not good enough. The problem that I see with this is you start to create these masks. Now you hear Carl Jung's philosophy talking about the shadow. What that means is people are now masking themselves and walking around as people who they really aren't, just so that they can receive some form of praise or attention from the outside. This is the literal sense of living from the outside to living from the inside. You're literally going outside your front door every single day thinking, how can I get people to look at me so I can feel validated, so I can feel worthy of being here, because I'm not grounded in myself. So the effect of this goal, all right, is others feel pressured to give constant approval. Others literally feel like they have to praise you constantly, and they're walking on eggshells because you're like a time bomb. If you don't get praised today, you're gonna jump off a cliff. If you don't get praised today, you're gonna pop yourself in the head. That's what's happening to people around you. That's why they're getting so exhausted. So now the relationship becomes artificial, built on performance and validation. It's no longer an authentic connection. You come home, maybe you're married, maybe you have a spouse, girlfriend, or boyfriend. You come home after a long day of work, and all you're doing is you're hoping that this person sees what effort you've put in today, and they say, honey, you did a great job. You know you don't even want to be at that job, but you literally come back and you're hoping and wishing that this person acknowledges your hard work. But it shouldn't be hard work. It should be the work that you truly desire to do. And you actually got up and said, I love what I'm doing. And if you don't do that, if you don't start to live in that way, if you don't start to behave in that way, you're going to suffer. You're going to lose your relationship. Eventually, it's going to happen. And if you don't become honest, basically honest with yourself, living with integrity and authenticity, you're going to lose out on all the joys of life, because you're, again, the cause of your effect. So this first mistaken goal, this is why you'll see people go out and they buy the big houses and they buy the nice cars, just like their neighbors got. You go to a neighborhood and you'll see everyone got the same exact vehicle, same exact style of house, same price range. Everything's pretty much the same. You'll see all of them have the same beliefs, all of them have the same habits, they work in the same jobs, they basically, that's the community. And what they're doing is they're living in competition mode almost, because they're sitting there thinking, how much of someone else's attention can they get to validate their existence today? Now, what we've done in the Alkalign Lifestyle is we've assigned each one of these 5 steps of problem behavior, which we included, plus we added 2 more of our own, which I'll describe that in forthcoming videos. We assign each one of them to a chakra energy center, to a chakra energy wheel. And basically, what chakras are wheels. They're wheels of energy. They're circular patterns of energy that are spinning, that need to continue spinning all throughout your entire body. If you look at yourself like standing up straight, if I'm standing up straight and I have a tornado spinning around me, and it's just going. And as it's going, it's getting bigger until it goes over my head, all the way out, throughout, back, around, and then it comes back in this pattern like this. So you'll see this is the pattern of how energy travels in a torus pattern. And it's going through like a tornado. Now it begins at the root. The root starts at your ankles. Then it goes to behind your knees. Then it's at your hips, your perineum, this area here. And what these are at your ankles and at the back of your knee or inguinal lymph nodes. It's how the energy is getting, it is being carried. It's being carried from the bottom to the top. So lymph, which is basically a combination of just plasma, interstitial fluid, blood, and it needs to go back and get processed continuously back through the heart all the way out to your entire body. And it has to do this based upon contraction. So the first part, seeking attention, the reason this is a problem behavior is because of an imbalance in the chakra of the root. Now, what does that mean? That means you're not grounded. That's simply what that means. You don't have a groundedness within you to stand on your own 2 feet. And that can be plenty of things actually cause this thing. It's not just one thing, but the majority of is a lack of strength. A lack of strength. Because in order for you to move the lymph from the bottom of your body to the top of your body, you have got to do some form of training, resistance. You must lift heavy things. You must pick up something that makes you uncomfortable, and you must do it on a consistent basis. Standing still is not good enough. On the contrary, standing still is going to cause you to become stagnant even quicker. Sitting still, standing still, being still in that way without. Now, if you're sitting still in meditation with your eyes closed and you're breathing to get the energy to go from your body to the top of your head to your mind, that's a different story. But when you're doing this process, like standing up like a security guard, that person is exhausted. That person is dying slowly on the inside. That is probably the most taxing job that you're going to see as a security guard, because they're standing still the entire time. So they're so stagnant, they don't have any contraction. There's no lymph going back from the bottom of their feet all the way back up to their head and to their heart. It needs to get back to the heart, because the heart is what sends it out to where it needs to get to. Okay, so think about this. First off, the first mistake that people make, they have a lack of training, resistance training. They don't move their body enough in a way of resistance to train themselves to become stronger, to become grounded. You'll also see, I'm actually plugged into the wall right now. So this is a grounding cord. You'll see it, 15-foot grounding cord. You can go get it from Amazon. And on my ankle, as I'm presenting, I have a grounding wrist strap. This strap plugs in to the cord. This cord plugs into the wall. When you have a 2-prong with a circle, the circle is actually a grounding cord connector. And that's what you ground yourself in. I do it every night while I'm sleeping. My dogs do it as well. It doesn't matter who it is. Now, you can get outside, of course, go barefoot outside. And that's a great idea too for you to do it, because you're tapping into the Earth's natural circadian rhythm, which is called the Schumann resonance, 7.83 hertz. But what I'm saying is, you probably aren't doing it enough. The reason that you need to do this first is because you need to have what's called negative electrons in order to balance out your body. The photon emissions come from the sun that then hits. The sun's rays are hitting from the outside. You can call the biosphere, coming all the way to the inside here, and it's going to the ground. It's pushing all of those emissions to the ground, which is why we absorb it through our feet. But people wear shoes that disconnect them from the earth. So already we have shoes that cause a disconnection. Already we have socks that cause a disconnection. And we're wearing low vibrational things that cause a disconnection. So ultimately, we're not on the same rhythm as the earth, but we are earth. There's no difference in the earth than us. We're just little pieces and little expressions and fractals of the actual planet Earth. We belong to the earth because we are earth. So what you're missing mainly is groundedness. First thing that you need to do, you need to ground yourself. I would say overnight is the best way for you to do it. It's just way possible. When you ground yourself, you decrease inflammation. When you ground yourself, you reconnect yourself to a circadian rhythm clock. That's a natural circadian clock. So now you have the proper release of serotonin, melatonin, all these types of things that are going to get you to be you. They're going to get you back in line with yourself, being your natural self. That's the first thing. But if you have a cut, a scrape, if you have an injury, guarantee if you start grounding yourself, you may not have been healed or healing in a quick fashion or in a timely manner. But now you start grounding yourself, I guarantee it's going to fast forward the process. I'm not going to say 10x because it might be 1,000x for some people. So there's no limit to how fast it can go. Then after that, literally train yourself. I'm telling you now, you need to find a simplistic method of the main movement I'm going to tell you is a squat. Just squat. Just like you see primates do, squat. But don't just squat by yourself, and don't just squat to hold yourself. First you need to do it first to get some mobility into your hips and get some range of motion inside your hips. But afterwards, you need to start to pick some things up. You need to be able to pick yourself up and hold yourself up and move yourself from left to right and move yourself. Actually be able to hold yourself and explode, jump, do things, because you need to be able to move. The one thing that I know is people, especially men, I see a lot of men with visceral fat. Women too, but men with severe visceral fat, which is the worst form of fat that you can have, because that means that all of this is built up right here and it's not moving. It needs to move, but all your blood is going away from the visceral organs, which is the organs that are interior of your body, and it's going to your arms and legs because you're stuck in stress, fight, or flight mode. You got to get out of that. So first off, change your diet, because your diet needs to go to something that's more holistic in a way of energizing. It needs to be energizing. The color of the root chakra is red. So you go to find some red foods, because that color means it's in the same alignment of vibration. You want to understand how this works. Now, the color scheme, red is the root, orange is the sacral, yellow is the solar plexus, green is the heart, you'll have blue, which is the throat, you'll have indigo, which is the third eye, and you'll have violet, which is the crown. Each one of those has a distinct frequency, which is why they have a certain color. You have foods that go into each category, each class of each one of these chakras, energy wheels. The organs at the root would be the reproduction organs. So you would say the perineum, you say the ovaries in women, the testes in men. These things, and then, like I mentioned, at the angle and at the knees, the inguinal lymph nodes. These things are crucial in cleansing. You need to get to where you cleanse these things at the beginning, because mostly what I've learned over time is that they're invaded by parasites. I used to have parasites. I used to have parasitic influence in my genitals, in my blood, in my head, because parasites attack your head. As soon as they get into your body, they start to dictate what you eat, what you do, how you respond to things. So that's what you want to do right away, is get rid of those. Get those out of your body as soon as possible. The herbs, are great for this. So root herbs are actually really, really good. Beets, things that red foods, so if you have red foods, so that's an awesome thing for you to do, is take in some red foods. So, red apples, you can say strawberries, those are red. Like I said, red beets, root vegetables are really, really good. And so I would err on the side of cleansing first to get rid of the obstructions, and then start to look at your belief patterns. Because not just doing the body's job, doing the mind's job to connect to the body is also imperative for you to be able to align yourself. So we focus on alkalizing your body, which is one end of alkalign, and then alignment of your 7 chakras. But what I've learned is that each one of these problem behaviors comes from either an excess or a deficiency in those chakras. And so by focusing on a protocol, simple protocol, you can do split squats, you can do double squats, you can do it daily if you want to. Grab a plate. I'm in my actual office / gym, so if you needed to grab something, you can. Here's a 25-pound kettlebell. You can squat with that. You can just take that, squat like that, all the way down. You want to get as low as possible so that you can get all the range of motion that you possibly can, and eventually you can graduate to something that's higher and heavier. But that, as far as food goes, hydration, proper sleep, grounding, like the grounding cord I showed you guys, the one you can get from Amazon. But mainly, you've got to get past the belief pattern, and this is what I'm going to show, the belief pattern that you can't gain value by being yourself. You've got to get over that. That needs to leave you forever, for the rest of your life. Because if you don't learn that, if you don't become yourself, you try to play the role of somebody else, 2 people die because you can't be somebody else and you gave up being yourself. So you're wasting the energy that you've gotten based upon uniqueness. You know who you are. You know whose you are. What you do is you literally define, based upon your own self-image of yourself, how you want to be looked at, how you want to be viewed, how you want to be impacted or impactful in your community, in the universe, whatever you want your grand vision of yourself to be. You've got to define that for yourself. Because if you don't do that, you start to create dependency on everybody else. And then you become manipulative. You become the person that attempts to keep everyone at your level because you don't want to change. You're screaming out to the universe, no, I don't want to change. No, I don't want to go higher. No, I want to stay just how I am, just how it is. And then you're going to realize that that's illness because it's going to make you move. And I'm not here to threaten anyone or to scare anybody, but I'm telling you right now, when the universe decides that you need to evolve, it's going to do something to show you it's time for you to evolve. It's going to hit you with something, and it will show you in many ways that you're turning your back on your true self. And when you figure that out, you have to surrender to it. So you have to understand that your goal should not be, if I can't belong by contributing, I'll belong by being noticed. That should not be your goal. Your goal should be to belong by contributing. And your goal should be that you're already here. So you're already contributing just by being here. And then you don't have to be noticed in order to validate why you belong. If you want something, you're already here. You made it here. You made it on heaven on earth right now. There's nowhere else for you to go. So heaven on earth is experienced right now. Hell and heaven, hell doesn't even exist. But if you think of it like that, look at it like acidity and alkalinity. Look at it like, fear and anger, or gratitude and fulfillment. Okay, it's just 2 sides. It's just two sides. And what you got to do is live in the middle. Live in the neutrality of everything. When you live in the middle, in the neutrality, you don't have to worry or concern yourself about how anyone's doing on the outside or how they see you. It doesn't matter. So your goal, again, should not be if I can't belong by contribution or belong by being noticed. Because you'll do bad things in order to get noticed. I promise you. That's why I said this is the first step of problem behavior. Because if you don't figure out that attention is not, some attention is actually wasteful. And not all attention, like not all money is good money. Not all attention is good attention. Okay, you need to start to look at that from um, quality attention. The people who are looking at you, who are actually looking at you, who are actually seeing you. If the quality of people that are seeing you is not high, it's because the quality of yourself seeing yourself is not high. Your quality, it's just you looking in the mirror at yourself. You don't look at yourself, in a way of, special, something great. It's not gonna work out. Okay, so let's see. So lastly, um, as far as the effect goes, other people won't feel pressure to give you constant approval because you don't want that. You don't want people to feel pressured to give you constant approval. You don't want that. You want people to feel free. You want people to feel open. You want people to feel like they can be themselves, like they can do what they need to do for themselves and not have to tiptoe around you because you're not having a good day today. You want people to be able to be free and have courage to not care. You don't want artificial relationship. You want things built on authentic connections, not built on performance, not built on what I think you want me to do or I think you want me to say and validation. No, you don't want that. That's not what you want. It's not what you want. Okay. So, okay. So, and lastly, once you're able to balance out the root and heal the root and fix the root and get rid of the excess and get rid of the deficiency that you have, this is charged through mineral deficiency, the cell salts that you need to go and take in. You can check out, I have a complete blog on all the 12 mineral cell salts and what they do for your body, especially from your bone structure to all 12 systems of your human body. You need to start to look at these systems and balance them all out at one time. Don't look at it where you have to change this one and leave this one or sacrifice this in order to do that. You want to have everything at one time. Now, so ultimately, your first problem behavior step, seeking attention. When you can get over that, you realize that by giving yourself the attention that you're seeking from the outside, you stop that process. So all you do have to do is focus and commit to it. I suggest grabbing a journal. I suggest grabbing, a pen and asking yourself simple questions. Why do you think you need to be validated by someone else instead of being validated by yourself? Once you can find out these answers, why you do the things that you do, why is the most important. Because when you find out why and you find out who, because usually it's a who you're doing it for. Once you figure out who, and you realize you're living your life for somebody else, maybe you'll decide to make some real changes. If you're looking for some one-on-one help, put a link in my description below. I have a one-on-one coaching program that heals all 7 chakras, also detoxifies your cellular structure. I have 2 formulas, powerful formulas, Awaken and Replenish, both just been vastly improved over time. This is like our 5th volume of them at this moment. So Awaken again is daytime formula, Replenish is a nighttime formula, and Platinum that we just came out with, which after you get done with the first 2, you can then upgrade yourself to Platinum. And this is where you cleanse the lymphatic system, the glymphatic system, a combination of both, and also subconscious reprogramming through Platinum. So those 3 things you're going to be able to go to. And then we have our VIP retreats that are coming out at the end of this year, Q4, and out in West LA. I hope to see you there. And lastly, we have our Become Alkalign Challenge. Which I'll be doing at the end of every month for a week to teach any and everyone who is learning or seeking to get a holistic perspective on how to heal themselves, reprogram their minds, and just become an authentic person. Just be able to live free. I have all the information that you guys are going to be able to sit there, meet for 2 hours a day, last week of the month, each month. So click my description below. Hope to see you there. See you in the next video. All right.